Well, good morning. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, the 18th of November. And we are a week and 2 days from Thanksgiving, and who knows, probably 5 weeks from Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. It's a beautiful day out this morning. There are clouds in the sky. What's interesting is last week they said it was going to rain on Friday and Saturday, and now they're saying that it might rain today. It looks like the rain that was supposed to come here actually moved north. So Phoenix is getting a lot of it, and northern Arizona is getting a lot of it. And apparently it's going to snow today above 6,500 feet. So whenever this snow comes in, you're going to see it. Whenever this rain comes in, you may see it on the top of Mount Lemmon or up in that area. So that's exciting. The storm will pass through, and then apparently there's another storm. Jennifer and I were watching the weather last night, and there's this storm that's going to hit mostly north of us, and then there's another storm behind it. I don't know if it's going to hit or not. I was looking at the forecast. Today is cloudy. Wednesday is cloudy. Thursday is rain. Friday is partly cloudy. Saturday is rain. Sunday is rain. Monday is sunny. And that next week, I don't care about next. I mean, I care, but not as much, because we'll be in Chicago to celebrate with the family, a little bit of Thanksgiving meal, and that's exciting. Which brings me to my other point. We won't meet next week. We'll meet this week, but we'll be off all next week as we travel to the cold country. And I keep thinking that maybe I should get a full body parka and just, the Michelin Man, just something like that would be fun. All right, I'm going to close out the weather. You know what's interesting? I was sitting here trying to, I don't know if you remember, but in the 80s, when they first came out with internet, this was even up with dial-up internet. Everybody used Microsoft Explorer, I think it was called, Microsoft Explorer, as the internet. And it was okay. And then Google came out with Google Chrome, and it was a far superior product. So I moved over to Google Chrome, I don't know, probably somewhere in the 90s, and have been on Google Chrome pretty much since then. I don't know why. I guess it's because I know everything. It's a comfortable program. But one of two things has happened with Google Chrome. One is that they're getting sloppy with how much memory and disk they use. Or two, Microsoft is playing games with Google Chrome, because it is, if I use Microsoft Edge, which is the new Microsoft product, it works pretty well. But I'm kind of loyal to Google Chrome, since they were the first ones to kind of use the server-side internet to get information. I mean, to communicate, basically. They revolutionized the internet as just moving it from a static information to interacting, filling out forms, getting information, that sort of thing. And Google was only part of it. I mean, there are other developers also, Java and all these other things. But I'm kind of loyal to Google, and but it slows down my computer like crazy. And I don't know if it's Google being sloppy with their programming, or if Edge is playing games with them. I probably could do some investigation, but it's not worth it. Anyway, every once in a while, my computer acts very, very, very slow. And this morning was one of those days. It was acting very, very slow, almost like it has a cold. And I'm sure you experience the same thing, and you think, oh, maybe it's time to reboot the computer or take off all the programs I've got. I've got thousands of programs. You just keep adding programs. You never delete them. Even if it's a one-time use, you never delete the program. It's like, hey, All right. Birthdays. We have one birthday today, and the birthday is Min. Min, happy birthday to you, young man. Hope you're having a great day, studying like crazy, and getting smart, taking the world by storm. That one will take the world by storm for sure. All right. And let me get over here, close that out. I'm going to close out the weather. I'm closing it out because otherwise it uses up resources that I don't really need. All right. Let's get into our study. We're in Numbers chapter 16. And we have this mini insurrection going on with the leadership of Israel under the leadership of Korah. And they complain to Moses and Aaron that they're in charge, that Moses and Aaron are in charge, and they want to be in charge. And Korah apparently is gifted, would be a great leader, most likely, in some aspects. But leadership, I guess I should, is it? Yeah. Leadership is more than just knowing. It says the Hebrew supplementary information that is passed down through the ages on the Jewish side says that he was wealthy and wise, almost like a Solomon type of person. But being wise does not make you a great leader. It's great to have, there's all sorts of skill sets that you're going to need at various times if you're going to lead. And wisdom is obviously one of them, but strength is one of them. Compassion is one of them. Empathy, all these different skills that you need to be a great leader. And Korah has wisdom, but does he have the other strengths? Because one of the things that Moses has is a strong connection to God, an extremely strong connection to God. God put him into place. Moses talks to God, receives information from God. That makes Moses God's appointed leader to Israel at this particular place in time. And Korah may think that he wants to be leader, but does he really want to be leader? Is he willing to pay the price to have the sacrifice necessary to be leader? And the answer is, I don't know. But we left off with Moses calling all the leaders together in front of the tent of meeting. And Moses is saying that if these leaders die of a natural death, then Moses shouldn't be leader. But if God does something that's unnatural, then Moses should remain as leader. It seems like a crazy way to put this all on God, but this is what is happening. So that's where we left off the story. And now we're going to see how this thing unfolds. So we're going to go to verse 31. As soon as he, this is Moses, finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions. They went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around them fled, shouting, "The earth is going to swallow us too." All right, so that's obviously not a natural death. That's God intervening and opening up the earth and swallowing all of them. We know that God is able to do this. God created the universe. He can certainly swallow up the earth. The closest visual thing I have to this is the subsidence that happens between Phoenix and Tucson in the area of Casa Grande. There's groundwater that's being pulled out of the ground, and that opens up fissures in the ground. It's called subsidence, and it can create some pretty large fissures. And it's possible that this is what's going on. Maybe they're using up so much groundwater. Who knows? But it's also possible that God opened up the ground and just swallowed them all whole, which is what it appears to have done. And so it is doubtful that Korah will continue to lead the people because he's now in the middle of the earth. And the people flee because they see what's happening, and they don't want to be swallowed up by the earth also. So there's the answer. Moses and Aaron are going to continue to lead. That's basically the bottom line. And how does this then unfold after this? Well, verse 35, and fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering the incense. So it wasn't just that the earth swallowed up Korah and his family. All 250 men who were going to go with Korah and create a dissension in Israel, they're burned up. These are the men who had the censer with the incense in it. Verse 36, the Lord said to Moses, tell Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, to remove the censers from the charred remains and scatter the coals some distance away from this, for the censers are holy, the censers of the men who sinned at the cost of their lives. Hammer the censers into sheets to overlay the altar, for they were presented before the Lord and have become holy. Let them be assigned to the Israelites. So Eleazar, the priest, collected the bronze censers brought by those who had been burned to death, and he had them hammered out to overlay the altar, as the Lord directed him through Moses. This was to remind the Israelites that no one except a descendant of Aaron should come to burn incense before the Lord, or he would become like Korah and his followers. Oh, man. All right, so Moses is now in charge because God has swallowed up Korah and has burned up the 250 people that were going to go with Korah. Now, the good news is that all those who were going to challenge Moses and Aaron in the leadership are now dead. So it refocuses the Israelite community underneath Moses and Aaron. Like nobody's going to go against Moses now. Moses is going to remain in charge. The downside is that now they've lost some of their senior leadership, and all the people with Moses, all the people that were against Moses. We talk about in modern day leadership discussions, and there's been a tremendous, over the last 20 years, more has been written about leadership, I think, than ever. And I think it's because of the internet. You have lots and lots and lots of books that look at particular leaders and say what has made them successful, what has not made them successful. And typically the very, very, very successful leaders get written about. People like, well, in history, it's people like Washington or Abraham Lincoln or whatever. But today it's the leaders of companies, rather large, successful companies, and they write books about them. And one of the things that makes a good leader is that they're always setting before the people what the vision of this organization is. And what happens is if people don't get on board with that particular vision, they leave, and maybe they'll go start their own organization. So whenever you have an organization, there's typically two ways. Today you look at the top 10 by profitability or by income in the United States today, and you can name pretty much who all the leaders are. The people follow those people, and if they don't like those people, they're free to leave. But having those people in charge kind of solidifies people around those people. And in church circles, there's been several books written about how you can, all gather around a particular person, but it's better to gather around a particular vision. What does this organization stand for? Why do we exist? Why are people going to sacrifice of themselves to join this organization? Like, what is it that we're doing in the world? And that needs to remain central for any successful nonprofit. That needs to be central. It can't be according to this one book. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't, but it's better for an organization to gather around a mission, like Jesus' mission, go make disciples, than it is around particular personalities, like the Pope, or facilities, or programs. Like, all of those things are subsidiary to, even the person leading the organization is all subsidiary to the mission. The mission is number one. And the great thing about laying out the mission is that people can either get behind it or not. And the more you gather people around the mission and get people excited about the mission, then the longer that organization will last, because people die, facilities can sometimes go away or burn down. But the mission remains the same. Moses and Aaron, and eventually will die. There's no question about it. But they're going to lead the people to the steps of the promised land. And then another leader will emerge that will take Israel into the promised land. All right. We'll continue on, verse 41. The next day, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. "You have killed the Lord's people," they said. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned toward the tent of meeting, suddenly a cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, "Get away from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once." And they fell face down. Then Moses said to Aaron, "Take your censer and put incense in it along with burning coals from the altar, and hurry to the assembly to make atonement for them. Wrath has come out from the Lord. The plague has started." So Aaron did as Moses said and ran into the midst of the assembly. The plague had already started among the people, but Aaron offered the incense and made atonement for them. He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to those who had died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance to the tent of meeting, for the plague had stopped. So God does three things here. First of all, he swallows up Korah into the ground, and then the 250 people get burned by fire, and then he starts a plague. And Moses tells Aaron to go into the midst of the people to stop the plague, and it does stop. So it's all done. All the people who needed to be destroyed by God have been destroyed. And it seems harsh. It seems harsh. But if you look throughout history, even in the Roman Empire, you have the Roman emperor. If people want to challenge the Roman emperor, then is the Roman emperor within his rights to put down that challenge? You look at a lot of these Roman emperors. They killed their uncles, they killed their brothers, they killed their children. And we look back at that time and we say, that's a horrible thing to do. But if you are in charge of a whole nation, like a whole Roman Empire, and somebody is coming to challenge you, and it'll split the whole entire empire in half, is it within your right as an emperor to put down that person, or to lock them up in jail, or to do something? Unfortunately, this is the human condition. The human condition literally is that you can only have one person in charge. And if you want to be in charge, you have to basically take over from the one that is in charge. And often that's done by battle. That's done by all sorts of different, it's done by force and war. And one of the beauties about the United States is that we do not have permanent emperors. If you look at history, when George Washington was elected the first person to lead the United States after the revolution, during the Revolutionary War, after we became our own nation, he struggled with what he should call himself because there was no example in history. Everybody else who had been in charge was the monarch or the king. And the thing about monarchs or kings is that they're permanently in positions of power. And Washington and Jefferson and all the other people, they debated about whether or not this is something that should be permanent. The legislature's permanent for the most part, although it wasn't intended to be that way. It was supposed to be just a 2-year thing where you come together, you pass some rules, and you leave again. The Senate is more permanent, and the court system, the legislature is more, or the judicial system is more permanent. But it was decided early on that the term of the president would be 8 years, 2 4-year terms. Now, I wonder if that term should be extended to 6 years. In many other locations, well, like the governor, I think in Arizona, it's a 6-year term, the initial term. I think that it's really, really tough. You spend the first 2 years learning the job, and then you spend the last 2 years campaigning. So you really only get, well, as president, if you get a 4-year term, then you get you get basically nothing the first term, and then about 2 or 3 years the second term to really, really understand the job. But other than that, I've wondered if the whole 4-year thing is right, or if it should be a 6-year term, or maybe an 8-year term, and you don't run for re-election. I don't know. Instead of running for re-election, maybe if you're not doing a good job, it's impeachment or replacement, or I don't know. But anyway, the bottom line is that what is the bottom line? The bottom line is that you have to lead, and leading is hard. And what God has done is winnowed out Israel so that the people who are remaining are faithful to Moses. And it seems cruel. It just seems cruel, but that's the human condition. The question is, does that go into the New Testament, or is Jesus in his church with the priesthood of all believers? Should there be a much, much flatter system of leadership in the church? And that's something that I've spent a little bit of time thinking about over the years. I don't know if I have an answer for it, but I have spent some time thinking. Brain matter, gray cell. All right. So now Moses is in charge, and Aaron will assist him, and Israel will continue to move on. This uprising gets crushed, and it seems brutal, but God helps. God wants Moses to be in charge, and so he leaves Moses in power. And I guess that's a good thing. It is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. You can only have one leader. Israel has judges, and then they have kings. But even before that, it's Moses. And before and after Moses, it's Joshua. You need one person as the focal point for leadership in any organization, in any nonprofit, in any country. The buck has to stop with one person. And I'll leave with this. The church historically has said that we are going to have one of the bishops that's going to be the super bishop, the bishop of bishops, and we'll all be under that leadership. Is that necessary? Is that really necessary? That's the question, I guess. All right, we'll leave it there, and we'll move on. Let's see over here. Thank you. Let's join in prayer. Gracious God, thanks for this day. Until we meet again, keep us in your grace. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for those of you joining online. I appreciate it. I pray God's richest blessing on you today. and we'll finish this tomorrow. Take care. Bye.